Chapter 7. The Curse Unveiled. The next morning, Sabrina woke to the aroma of fresh coffee and the sound of Noah moving about in the kitchen. For a moment she lay still, memories of the previous night flooding back. The threat, the kiss, the unspoken promises. Taking a deep breath, she steeled herself for the day ahead. They had a mystery to solve, a curse to unravel, and a town to save. Dressed and feeling more herself, Sabrina joined Noah in the kitchen. He handed her a steaming mug of coffee, their fingers brushing in a way that sent a shiver down her spine. "Sleep okay?" Noah asked, his voice soft with concern. Sabrina nodded, offering a small smile, as well as can be expected, given everything. "Ready to dive back in?" They spent the early morning hours reviewing their notes and findings from the previous days. The witch's journal lay open on the kitchen table, its pages filled with cryptic writings and strange symbols. "I think we're missing something," Sabrina mused, frowning at a particularly puzzling passage. The journal keeps referencing a binding and a price, but it's not clear what exactly was bound or what the price was. Noah leaned in, his shoulder brushing against hers as he studied the text. "Maybe it's not spelled out directly. These old texts often use metaphors and allegories. We might need to read between the lines." As the morning wore on, they pored over the journal, cross-referencing it with the historical documents they'd uncovered in the library's hidden room. Slowly, a picture began to emerge, one that was both fascinating and terrifying. "Noah, look at this," Sabrina said suddenly, her voice filled with excitement and dread. "I think I've found it, the curse." Noah moved to read over her shoulder, his presence warm and reassuring at her back. The passage she pointed to was written in a shaky hand, as if the writer had been under great stress. "In the year of our Lord 1692, we, the founding families of Hallowville, did bind the darkness that sought to consume our new home. Through sacrifice and ancient rites, we created a seal to hold back the shadows. But such power comes at a great cost. The seal must be renewed each year at the turning of the seasons, lest the darkness break free and devour all in its path. This burden we pass to our descendants, for as long as Hallowville shall stand." Sabrina and Noah exchanged a look of dawning comprehension. "The Halloween festival," Noah said slowly. "It's not just a celebration, it's a ritual to renew the seal." Sabrina nodded, her mind racing. "And the feud between the Thompsons and the Blackwoods, it must have started over disagreements about how to maintain the seal. But if that's true, then Mr. Thompson's disappearance could be related to someone trying to break the seal," Noah finished, "or prevent it from being renewed." They spent the next few hours piecing together the implications of their discovery. The journal detailed the nature of the darkness bound by the founding families, a malevolent force that had been drawn to the magical energies of the land where Hallowville was built. The seal created by the town's founders had kept this force at bay for centuries, but at a cost. Each renewal of the seal requires a sacrifice. Sabrina read, her voice hushed. Not of blood, but of essence, a piece of the renewer's life force, given freely to maintain the barrier. Noah frowned, his detective's mind working through the implications. So the Thompsons and Blackwoods, as descendants of the original founders, would have been responsible for this renewal. But if one family was removed from the equation, it would put more strain on the remaining family, Sabrina concluded. Maybe that's why the Blackwoods were driven out of town. The Thompsons wanted sole control over the ritual. As the day progressed, they worked together seamlessly, combining Sabrina's knowledge of history and folklore with Noah's investigative skills. They created timelines, cross-referenced events, and slowly unraveled the complex web of Hallowville's supernatural history. By late afternoon, they had a clearer picture of the curse and its implications for the town. The seal, maintained for centuries through the Halloween ritual, was weakening. The journal's later entries, presumably written by Mr. Thompson, expressed growing concern about the strength of the barrier. "He knew," Sabrina said softly, reading the final entry. "Mr. Thompson knew the seal was failing. He was trying to find a way to strengthen it before this year's festival." Noah nodded grimly. "And someone didn't want him to succeed. That's why he was taken." The realization of the danger facing their town settled heavily upon them. If the seal wasn't properly renewed at the upcoming Halloween festival, the malevolent force that had been bound for centuries would break free. "We need to find Mr. Thompson," Noah said, determination in his voice. "He's the key to all of this. He must know how to properly perform the renewal ritual." Sabrina agreed, but a thought nagged at her. What if we can't find him in time? The festival is only 2 days away. We need a backup plan. They spent the next hour brainstorming, their minds working in tandem. Sabrina's extensive knowledge of magical lore, gleaned from years of reading and her recent deep dive into Hallowville's history, complemented Noah's practical approach to problem solving. "Okay," Noah said finally, rubbing his tired eyes. "Here's what we know. The renewal ritual needs to be performed by a descendant of the founding families. It requires a willing sacrifice of life force, and it needs to be done at the height of the Halloween festival, when the veil between worlds is thinnest." Sabrina nodded, adding, "And we know the general structure of the ritual from the journal. If we can't find Mr. Thompson, we might be able to perform it ourselves." Noah looked at her sharply. "Ourselves, Sabrina? We don't know what kind of toll this ritual might take. It could be dangerous." "More dangerous than letting an ancient evil loose on the town?" Sabrina countered. She reached out, taking Noah's hand in hers. "I know it's risky, but we might be the town's only hope." Noah's fingers tightened around hers, his eyes filled with a mix of admiration and concern. "You're right, but we do this together, okay? I'm not letting you face this alone." The intensity of his gaze made Sabrina's heart race. She nodded, unable to find words to express the depth of her gratitude and affection. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across Noah's living room, they shifted their focus to preparation. They gathered supplies mentioned in the journal: candles, herbs, and symbolic objects tied to Hallowville's history. Sabrina copied out the key passages of the renewal ritual, committing them to memory just in case. Noah, meanwhile, coordinated with his deputies, setting up a discreet search for Mr. Thompson without alerting the rest of the town to the potential danger. He also made arrangements to secure the festival grounds, ensuring they would have access to the site where the ritual needed to be performed. As they worked, the gravity of their situation hung heavy in the air. The fate of Hallowville rested on their shoulders. If they failed, an unimaginable darkness would be unleashed. Yet, amidst the tension and fear, Sabrina found herself drawing strength from Noah's presence. His unwavering support, his determination to protect not just her, but the entire town, filled her with a sense of hope and purpose. Late that night, as they finally paused to rest, Sabrina and Noah found themselves on the porch once again. The cool night air was filled with the scent of autumn leaves and wood smoke, a reminder of the season that had brought them together and now threatened to tear their world apart. "Whatever happens," Noah said softly, his arm around Sabrina's shoulders, "we face it together." Sabrina leaned into him, drawing comfort from his warmth. "Together," she agreed. As they gazed out into the darkness, both were acutely aware of the challenges that lay ahead. The next 2 days would determine the fate of Hallowville. They had unveiled the curse, understood its terrible implications, and now stood ready to fight against the encroaching shadows.